All right, welcome to another episode of Freezin for NFC North Podcast, episode 27. This episode, we were talking about the division roster moves and overreactions, and we are joined by our guests. First of all, Viking Dave, welcome back. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me back, and we're ready for the season. We're only a week away. I can't wait.
It's getting close, and we are also excited to be joined by Jamie. She goes by Queen Jamie on Twitter, in our Packers correspondent, so to speak, this week. So, how are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm a little bit under the weather, so I apologize for my voice. I'm going to take another cough drop here. But I'm excited to be on. I really appreciate you guys having me.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us. And as always, joined by our Lions guy, Gridiron Grubb. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. It's great to be here. We're almost to the season. It's getting exciting.
It is. And there's a lot to talk about, and we talked about this a little bit offline, that now the division has a little bit more intrigue this year. And we'll just kind of go ahead and, start with you, Jamie. What are you looking for the Packers this year? And what most worries you going into the season?
I'm really excited about the season starting, and I think, my biggest concern obviously is going to be wide receiver, because we have so many new pieces in that group, but we still have Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur, right? So I do also want to hit on, I believe that our offensive line is going to be more cohesive going into the season. I don't know for sure when D-Back or Jenkins is coming back, but I do know they're practicing. So offensive line, wide receiver, those kind of new parts are my biggest concern, but I'm not overly concerned either. Defensively, I like our defense. I think our defense is going to be really, really stout this year. Picked up some good pieces, kept some good pieces. The Packers really drafted well, which is shocking because the Packers never draft well, in my opinion. So I'm excited about that. And we only, Winfrey, I think, was the only one of the wide receivers that we didn't keep or draft picks. And they kept Torrey over him. Sounds like he will still get a practice squad spot, which is good because, again, our wide receiver depth cohesion is not great at this point. But they kept Samari Toure, who came from Nebraska. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see him play. Christian Watson should be good. As long as we can keep Sammy Watkins healthy, that should be good. And we still have Lazard, who will definitely be Aaron Rodgers' guy, I would say, going into the season.
Well, I'm happy you brought up the receivers because that's something that we've talked about. And last week we did just some overreactions, and I'm going to go ahead and throw up but I'm going to put up. That's actually kind of what I think of.
Unintended.
Probably, yeah. When I think of the Packer receivers, but no. So last week we did some overreactions, and I want to get your take on this one here. You said Alan Lazard's the guy, but here we go. Packers overreaction or not? No Green Bay receiver reaches 1,000 yards this season.
Oh, it's with Tay being gone, that's going to be. I think the ball's going to be spread around a lot more. I think somebody gets close to it. I believe we'll probably get one over it, but I'm not completely sold on it. I think they'll be close though.
Yeah, that's fair. And are you a Robert Tonyan believer?
Oh, absolutely. I love Bob. I had him on my fantasy league last year before he got hurt. He was doing so well for me, and then disaster. But no, I like Tonyan. I like him a lot. I think that Green Bay is actually at their best when they utilize their tight ends. So I'm really hoping that he's back and healthy.
Yeah, you look at it. So, guys, what questions do you have for Jamie, Packer wise?
Me?
Go ahead,
Come on, guys, don't be scared.
Well, for me, obviously you mentioned the receivers. But I think we even talked about this early on. How do you feel about? Do you think the defense has to be probably more of a focal point for the Packers this season compared to past seasons with what they got going on offense?
So I believe that the Packers have actually done a pretty good job of addressing the defense the past couple years, especially. And we have some ballers back there now. I mean, between our linebackers and our line and our secondary is ridiculously talented and very, very strong, especially getting Jair back this season. And Stokes played so well, and we've got Savage and Douglas, and I like our defense. I'm really, really happy with how well.
Do you think, though, more than in the past, that they have to stand up for? I mean, just saying, like, there's usually the offense was something that could carry them. Is this a year more the defense kind of has to? Do they have to step up another notch?
Yes, and I think that they will. And I really foresee it being. I kind of almost see the defense not. I don't want to say carrying Green Bay because obviously Aaron Rodgers is still back there. We have a really talented running game as well, but I would think that maybe we lean on the defense a little bit more than we have in the past. I definitely think that would be a good thing for Green Bay, not having to put it all on the offensive side of the ball.
So, speaking of, the Packers and the division this year, the Packers have had a stranglehold on the division because of Aaron Rodgers. And, that's recognized, as a Bears fan, I recognize that.
There was another guy before him, too, that kind of made it hard for everybody else to win in the division, too.
His name was Brent something, I think.
The Vikings legend? The Vikings legend? You're talking about him?
Favre, is that him?
Vikings legend. So, and this
Vikings legend, yes.
That's right.
Oh, my God.
Hey, I had a chance to be in Mankato those years, so I got a chance to see that, and it was an interesting ride. I mean, even as a Bears fan, just kind of sitting back and watching that unfold. But as we look at this season and how it may unfold, and I'm gonna bring you into this here, Dave. So, Jamie, first of all, give us the case of how the Packers can win the division this year, because I am all in on the Vikings offense this year, and the Vikings winning the division. So give us the case that the Packers are going to win the division this year.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let me say this. I love Justin Jefferson. I am an LSU fan. So keep that in mind. I love him. He's like one of my guys, okay? He's like one of my babies. I don't believe Kirk Cousins has that killer ability to go in and get it done. I just don't think he's the guy. And Dalvin Cook is great, and Adam Thielen is great, and they've got a lot of really good talent on offense. Their defense was atrocious, okay? And I just don't think that the defense I don't think it's been addressed, and I don't think it's going to get any better, and that's what concerns me about the Vikings.
What do you think, Dave?
I think the Vikings win the division. I think the defense is better. I don't think they're great, but I think they're going to be better. They can't be worse than they were. It's just not possible.
I thought that as a Nebraska fan, and here I am after week 0, and I'm just wallowing in my sorrows.
Yeah.
Well, that's coaching with Nebraska too. So,
I mean, you gotta think about assuming these guys stay healthy. Of course, Danielle Hunter and Zadarius Smith's one of the best duos in the league. You got Harrison Smith in the back. You got Lewis Cine, who's a stud. I love that guy. I think he's going to be awesome.
100%. Yes.
So, I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, you got these guys. You got Eric Kendricks coming back. So they've got pieces. The corners are still an issue, I think. We'll see what happens. But to me, all they have to do is be average to be good, because I think the offense is going to be top 5. And you can hate on Cousins if you want to, but when he throws for 5,000 yards, don't say I didn't say it. I didn't tell you.
All right, fair enough.
So
still don't believe
you're behind a lot. You have to throw for a lot of yards.
Oh, okay.
That's true,
You
too.
would, the Lions fans know that at Stafford. That's what he
Yeah,
saw.
yeah.
Well, it's from experience. I'm just saying.
So one of the reasons I've been in on the Vikings is because of their new offensive, coaches and whatnot. And so the Vikings and the Packers have that in common, don't they? Similar, coming from the Ram system, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, actually very similar. It'll be interesting. I just don't trust Kirk Cousins. I can't explain. I just don't think he has that thing that drives good QB, like that killer instinct that you see with the top QBs.
I think we've talked about that. I think that's fair on this program, before here, man. I mean, like we've talked about that. I've even said that. So I have to agree here with Jamie that, I mean, it's, I've said that before. It's like Cousins, he wants to go out and he wants to play the game, but there's just something that comes down to it that is that drive there where he just like has that chip.
Okay.
On.
He has the same issues at Michigan State, to be fair.
So you guys talk about he doesn't have the killer instinct. Okay, like I get that. That's fine. So what about last year when he would drive us down the field every week to a touchdown or a field goal, and then the defense would let up? We lost every single game on the last drive of the game. Every single time we lost a game, it was on the last drive of the game.
That's fair.
And it's not because of Cousins, because he would put us – what about the Packers game? He drove us down twice in the last 4 minutes because Rodgers came back with a one-play touchdown.
I'll be honest. Last year, I give him – because I was saying it all season during the year, and I was catching grief on here too, because I was saying, when does it come, though? Because Kirk Cousins, he might only throw 7 or 8 interceptions in a season, but they're going to be damn important 7 and 8 interceptions that cost them the game a lot of times. But last year,
that's not true.
He didn't do that last year.
Yeah.
He did it before, but last year, I think he did a lot better job.
I would agree with you. I thought that Kirk Cousins did a much better job last year. And definitely the defense lost you those games. I don't
defense is pathetic.
I don't disagree with that.
It's so interesting how the narrative can change. And you think of like Kirk Cousins, if he has another, great year and the Vikings are successful, get into the playoffs and, maybe make a run, it'll be interesting to see that. But what I'm always interested in is the Aaron Rodgers narrative, right? I mean, he won a Super Bowl, right? And he's been, living fat and happy off that for a long time, and so if Jamie, in your opinion, if Rodgers does not win a Super Bowl in the next, couple of years, or at least get to a Super Bowl, does that hurt his legacy at all?
I get asked this a lot. And I think there are a lot of quarterbacks that would like to be in Aaron Rodgers' position. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that you can say whatever you want that it does tarnish his legacy. I don't think it does. I don't think you can take away everything that he has done as a Packer, as an NFL quarterback. I don't think that it tarnishes it in any way. I mean, I think if he hadn't have won a Super Bowl, yes, absolutely, you could say that. Like Dan Marino, right? He never won the big one, but he was a fabulous quarterback, right? So I don't think you can compare the two. Maybe some people think that. I personally don't. That's just me though. Yeah, I don't think it tarnishes what he has brought to the game.
I agree with that. People say they always put the blame on the quarterback. Like you guys say about Cousins, we say it about every team that doesn't win or they do win. It's always on the quarterback, whether they're good or bad. It doesn't matter. And Rodgers has got them. I hate them, but they're in the playoffs every year. They're in the NFC Championship game, all the time. And it's a team sport. Like, let's be real. Like Peyton Manning lost 2 Super Bowls. Does that say anything?
Come into a coach as well.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's coaching. It's a whole lot of things that, maybe Rodgers didn't have his best game in some of the playoff games. Like, I get that, but he's one of the top 5 quarterbacks ever. I don't see how you don't say that, whether he won how many Super Bowls or not.
Even if you go into that game, right? Like, it was actually a coach's decision that might have lost them that playoff game, right? They move forward, right? So yes. Rodgers drives them down the field, and a coach's decision changes everything. Is that Rodgers' fault? No. So yeah, like those things, and plus again, McCarthy towards the end of his career he literally, I don't know if I've ever seen a head coach pretty much check out, but he was checked out for several years there in Green Bay, just kind of rolling along.
Aaron was completely on his own. The whole team was completely on their own, which was sad because there was a lot of talent on those teams that really deserved a lot better than they got. But I'm glad you guys can see that too, because I feel that way. Because I mean, we could say that about a lot of players. There are a lot of great players in this league that haven't won a Super Bowl. Does that really diminish? But because it's a quarterback, I think that the narrative is different.
Okay, so look, let's take Tom Brady, right? You match him up with Bill Belichick, and he's great, but he leaves, and everybody's like Tom Brady. But Bruce Arians was a damn good coach in Arizona, leading that team that was a pile of nothing when he took over and led them to, playoff-bound team. So then he goes, he's pretty damn good coach too. So it takes good coaching plus a great quarter. It really does take a good quarterback to win a game, at least a manageable quarterback to win, the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and you talk about quarterback. Obviously, it takes receivers as well. And when you look at those Packers receivers, Christian Watson, and Romeo Doubs, I mean, what are they going to need to do to really separate themselves as someone as a receiver that Aaron Rodgers can trust? I mean, they have to kind of do their work. I mean, he can only kind of pull rookie receivers along enough. Like, what do they have to do to really separate themselves?
I mean, really just catch a lot of balls from Aaron. I mean, really you just have to build that because Devontae didn't have that at first. He didn't really have that his first 2 or 3 seasons, honestly, in Green Bay, because there were other guys that had that, right? So you're just going to have to build. And the only way to do that is in games. I mean, you can work with Aaron and you can, catch, run the routes and catch the balls in practice and all that stuff. But until he knows he can throw you the ball in games and trust you to go up and make that catch, there's not a whole lot that they can really do.
So I think Aaron, so we're talking about, these factors, like Aaron Rodgers can be that quarterback that makes a receiver better. Okay, yes. So sometimes receivers make quarterback better, but in this case, he can make receivers better. He really is that type of quarterback. That's why he's been such a good quarterback for so long. I mean, to be honest, yes, the Packers have had some good receiving cores, but they haven't had some Hall of Fame receiving cores.
No, absolutely not.
Aaron Rodgers made those guys a lot more special because you look when they left the team and go to other places, if they don't have a quarterback that makes them a better receiver, they just kind of died out. Even Jordy Nelson, he could have been something. I think he could have finished his career a little stronger.
Yeah.
But you lose Aaron Rodgers, he can make a receiver better. And that's what a good NFL quarterback's got to do. That's what he's been doing.
Yeah, well, it's just like Tom Brady, right? I mean, really, let's be honest. Tom Brady never had a really strong supporting cast. Aaron Rodgers never really – I'm not saying that all Green Bay receivers were trash or anything like that. I'm just saying, before Devontae, really there hadn't been Jordy was great, Randall was great, Donald Driver, they were great, but really they hadn't had that level since probably Robert Brooks. And that was Favre. Yeah. So, it's like you say, there are quarterbacks in this league that can make their receivers look great. And Aaron is definitely one of them. And that's kind of why I trust that everything will be fine on the offensive side of the ball. Maybe it starts a little slow. But then they could go off like they did and just, rattle off 10 wins, in a row.
So one last question for you, and you can stay on as long as you want. But speaking of starting off slow, last year that was obviously a disaster against the Saints. So starting slow this year, I mean that means a loss to the Vikings. What are your thoughts on the game in Week 1 for the Packers?
Well, it's a little harder to swhattle, obviously.
They could be 0-2 right there.
Man.
That'd be great. At home. 0-3. You took the Patriots. When are they going to win a game? The Giants, maybe? They might win.
Giants, Jets, back to back.
It's already over, Vikings fans. Just go home. Don't make me laugh so hard.
So yeah, I mean, when you think of week one, obviously, Dave, you have the Vikings winning.
Yeah, of course. When we're at home, we got a better team. We got a better quarterback. We got a better everything.
I love it. I love your optimism.
As a Bears fan, I don't have much optimism for win-loss record. I like where they're going, and now, we've made some other moves, but I don't see the Bears beating the Packers at all this year. But hey, I'm good with that. Are you good? If the Packers lose week one, the sky's not falling, is it?
No, I don't know, because the NFL season's too long, and you get them, you get them again, and that kind of thing. I think that the Packers might be more up to play because it's the Vikings. I could see that being a thing. I don't know. I couldn't really tell you what happened last year. They just looked bad. I mean, it looked bad, but also I don't feel like Aaron was super engaged through the whole training camp thing either. So that could have played a role as well. I think it's completely different this season. And I still like the Packers to beat the Vikings, but I wouldn't be surprised if they lost the game either. I really think it could be a toss-up just because you don't know. It's a new system for both. Like, you just don't really know what to expect. I do think our defense is a little bit stronger, which is why I give a slight edge to the Packers, even though it is at the Vikings. I still give the defense, because our defense is going to be really good. I give it to the Packers because I have to.
Oh yeah, you have to. Well, and
contractually, I have
absolutely. To. Well, before you need to go, where can everyone find you, Jamie?
My Twitter. Oh gosh, I don't even know what my Twitter handle is. What is it?
I think we have you at JL Pritchard 11.
That's right. It's JL Pritchard 11. I couldn't remember the two numbers at the end of it. We have so much social media these days. I'm like, I don't know what it is. Just find me. JL Pritchard 11.
Are you on podcasts, anything like that?
I am. I'm actually on a. It's called the Air Raid Attack podcast.
With Mike, right?
Yep, with Mike. Yep. He's an OU guy. So we do that. We record on Wednesdays usually. Sometimes we have a Tuesday or Thursday episode. But yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on, and hopefully I can come back when I'm feeling a little bit better.
Well, and when the season goes on too, it was helpful. It was just the three of us actually kind of, really throwing shade at the Packers wide receivers. So it's good to have a Packers perspective here.
Yeah, you're not going to get that from me. I'm actually really excited for our receiving core. They could probably be the most talented we've had in a long time. Mm-hmm. It just depends on their development and how much work they put into going forward. But I liked what I saw in preseason. There were some really, really good bright spots in preseason with the new wide receivers. So
absolutely.
Oh, I just want to say this. Please, God, let special teams be better, because special teams was so bad last year for the Packers. I wanted to cry. I mean, I thought Nebraska special teams were bad, but honestly, the Packers challenged that.
Did it really cost them anything important last year? Special teams? I don't remember.
Oh yeah, no, not at all. No.
Well, and you know how
totally fine.
I say how they turned where they had to turn to make it better. A former Bear player.
Oh. They did. I like the hire though. I couldn't really say anything about it. So I'm like, well, thank God, because at least because it was bad. It was hard. It was hard to watch as a fan, knowing that cost them so much. It was difficult. It was difficult. But no, I wish you guys all luck. And, I really do think that the Lions and I do like where the division is going. I do think it could get really interesting. Probably not this year, but I do think the next couple years, especially, it could be good, which is good for the, it's good for the NFC. It's good for competition. It's good for fan interest, right? Like
Absolutely.
we want stuff to be competitive. We don't, I mean, it's not really fun to just go in honestly and just expect to win a football game. It kind of is. I won't say it's not, but it's the NFL. It should be competitive, and
absolutely.
I miss the days where it was like, oh my gosh, we have to play the Vikings, we have to be ready, or oh my gosh, we have to play the Bears, we have to be ready.
Dang.
I do kind of miss that.
I'll let you have that. We'll let you have that. Oh, that hurts my heart.
I just love, I think the thing that people need to know most about me is I really love football, and I like immerse myself in it. So people are always like, oh, you like too many teams and blah, blah, blah. Well, no, I really like the game of football. So I'm going to give credit where I feel credit is due, regardless of what team you play for, except for the Cowboys, y'all. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I have nothing good to say about the Cowboys. I just don't.
Not many do.
I just don't like that team at all. I can't do it. But yeah, anybody else, I'm like, yeah, they're great. They'll be fine.
Absolutely. Yep.
No, I appreciate it a lot, you guys.
Awesome.
It's been great.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you coming on. So, and we'll definitely connect again in the future. And
yes.
kind of as we kind of move on, we talked a little bit about the Vikings. So, the Vikings have had some interesting moves. Dave, what are your thoughts on the Jalen Reagor trade and some of the other roster moves that the Vikings have made?
The QBs didn't surprise me. I knew Kellen Mond wasn't that good. I think I told you guys that a couple weeks ago. I didn't think they would cut him yet, but I mean, I guess that just shows that they don't really like him. The Reagor trade, I'm okay with it. I mean, they didn't give up much for him. He's a great punt returner. If that's the worst case that he plays, okay, that's fine. Like, we need special teams. We know how important that can be. We haven't had a good punt returner since Marcus Sherrills, if you guys even remember that guy, or probably not. He was so good, but you underestimate it until you have a guy that all they do is just fair catch it or fumble it. So hopefully he can be that guy for us. I was surprised they cut Smith Marset. I think they're going to bring him back on the practice squad if possible.
That's my Iowa guy.
Yeah, I know that's your guy. I was surprised that they cut him because I thought he's been playing well. And then they just cut the entire draft from last year. Like, it was just a complete bust. It's pathetic how bad last year's draft was. They cut 3 of their 4 third-round picks. I mean, Darrisaw's a stud, but everyone else is terrible. The 4th round, I mean, you just got it on the screen right there. They cut like 2 of their 4th-round picks from last year. I think it's ridiculous how many of those guys have been cut already.
I mean, it's like trolling from last year. I was telling
it's crazy
earlier. It's like he's trolling they're like trolling on the last regime. They're like, oh wait, that guy, they drafted him.
Yeah,
you're cut, bro.
Done.
They're like, he's our 3rd wide receiver. I don't care, out of here.
It's crazy. So yeah, I was surprised by a few. None of those guys look great, so I can't say I'm surprised. It just you usually get more than a year, so it's a little surprising. But I mean, listen, I'm trusting in the new guys, and if they're bust, you might as well give them now. What's the point in hanging on to them? So,
are you sad about Sean Mannion?
I'm so sad about that. I'm heartbroken. That guy should not even be on a route. I saw he got picked up today. I don't even by who. I don't know why you would want that guy. He's pathetic. He's trash too.
Yeah, he went somewhere.
Someone signed him.
See, Kellen Mond got signed by the Browns.
The Browns.
Seattle.
Seahawks.
Because I was talking about that going, man, they must
that's
really
right, they did.
They must really like Drew Lock so much that
they've got 2 number 1s.
Yeah, they got 2 number 1s. That's right.
You gotta feel bad if you're a backup quarterback and they signed Sean Mannion today. You know what I mean? Like,
he's not good.
Didn't Amir Smith Marset though have some like legal off the field stuff going on?
Not that I know of.
Oh, I hadn't even heard that.
Well, yeah,
if he did, it's not that I hadn't heard that, so I could be wrong, but I'm not sure.
I just thought, I mean, I'm not on, like, I am not immersed in Iowa Twitter very much, but I thought I saw something about, like, maybe some more like legal stuff going on with him. I know he had that he had a DUI, didn't he, while he was at Iowa?
He did. Yep. There was some. Yep.
So I don't know if and again, this is speculation. I don't know anything. Like, I'm not putting this out there. I thought I saw a little bit of those rumblings.
I'm gonna have to look at that now. Yeah. And when you look at it, I mean, the talent is there, but yeah,
100%.
But if you're trying to make a roster spot, I mean, if you're that close, you need to be, spotless on all that stuff.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that, so I could be wrong.
I just wonder if it was some off the field kind of like conduct stuff.
I
mean, he made the original 53-man roster until they made the trade for Rager. He got cut. So, right. Like I said, I think they'll bring him back to the practice squad and then maybe make room for him later assuming he doesn't get picked up,
With as many receivers and like people who get cut, these guys usually make it through a waiver unless they're like absolutely necessary on a team. So we'll see. He probably make it through now, but he might get picked up.
Someone might like him.
Yeah. And so you look at some of those cuts. So Armon Watts was cut by the Vikings, and then showed up on the Bears side of things. Some of the moves, the Bears ended up signing him, and so I believe, what did he have? Did he have like 5 sacks last year?
He was probably the biggest surprise. I don't think he's great, but he's a solid depth guy. Not really sure why they dropped him. I didn't realize the Bears claimed Alex Leatherwood too.
Yeah.
The Bears are up there. They claimed him.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
They definitely need some linemen.
Well, and so they've gotten that's the big thing with the Bears. I mean, then they signed Michael Schofield, but then they ended up cutting him because now they have Tevin Jenkins, who's going to be a guard, and it's been interesting, and that was the big thing with the Bears is the line. The complaint is we didn't sign anybody, and it's kind of really been moved around quite a bit, and we've got some promising young players now, and Tevin Jenkins has kind of been massaged, not in the Deshaun Watson way, but into a spot. And Alex Leatherwood started all 17 games last year for the Raiders, and so I don't know if it was just it sounded like he struggled at guard and tackle, but if you get a good general manager who knows linemen and they can really teach it right, I mean, hopefully they can really add him in there.
Well, I think everybody was shocked about him getting dropped, but I think that you got McDaniel coming in there to Oakland. It's a tough scheme to learn. Maybe he just wasn't, if he was struggling last year, this is a tougher scheme for linemen. They need linemen who can move and who understand their scheme, because there are going to be a lot of pooling linemen and there's a lot of misdirection and all those things. Maybe he wasn't up to par with that type of offense they're running there like that, so.
That's a fair point. Yeah, that's a good point. It could be something like that.
Although,
I think Leatherwood, he came from OU, right? Or no, he came from Bama. Sorry,
Alabama. Yeah.
So you would think that he would have that skill set.
And it might be as far as just his work ethic too. I mean, that could be part of it too. So, but when you look at it, it'll be interesting because when we look at Justin Fields, hopefully growing and being successful. A lot of it's on, getting him out of the pocket, rolling out and all of that. And so it'll be interesting to see what they, do if, he's not as, mobile as a lineman. I don't know.
I like Justin Fields, by the way. I hope that y'all don't kill him, because
me too.
Just please don't kill him. Because I really like him as a player. So that's all I have to say about that.
Well, Fields he has to learn the reading of the blitzes, because if not, having a bad line, plus that's where he struggled last year was reading blitzes. And you look at some of the film and they blame the offensive line, but if you actually break it down and you see he's misjudging, miscalculating where the blitz is coming from, he's calling a wrong mic occasionally, and it's literally leaving an open DN on a free rush sometimes, and these type of things. And so those are rookie mistakes he made. He's going to have to make that better, because I don't care how good your legs are. these dudes are hitting you when you're not reading blitzes
If you
right.
can't read a defense in the NFL, you're not gonna take it far. That's like 90% of the quarterback position in the NFL is reading blitzes and linebackers.
So yeah, well, I guess that leads to Jamie, since you're still here. What I mean, is there any possibility that Jordan Love eventually will be the quarterback of Green Bay, or he's just going to play out his contract and go elsewhere, right?
I mean, everybody says that, but with the way that they've brought him along and they haven't really traded him away for draft picks or anything like that. I really believe that he could be the guy once Aaron goes. He's shown some really good flashes. He has shown some ability to be really good. You just don't know until you put him in a true live game experience how against number one defenses how it's going to go, right? I don't know. I just don't know. I think I want to say this is going to sound bad. I'm wondering if it's partially like a Goot ego thing at this point. Like, I got to keep him around because I drafted him in the first round, and so I got to do something with him. I don't know. I don't.
That was exactly the thought in my mind as you said that. I literally was thinking that.
I just have to wonder if that's some of it. To be frank with you, I don't know if we get that lucky for a third time. I mean, that would be like lightning in a bottle to get Aaron Rodgers, right? And to come along and with everything that happened with Brett Favre prior. I don't know. Well, it's kind of looking that way though.
They must trust him enough. I mean, they cut their was it their third quarterback? I can't remember what his name was. But Bankert. Really now, what was that?
Bankert.
No, there was another one that Bankert. They just cut.
Sorry. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
cold brain. I'm blanking.
So really now they've only got the two quarterbacks. But
yes, there's only two of them now. Gosh, why can't I think of what his name is?
So really, if they're going for Super Bowl or the number one draft pick, if Aaron Rodgers gets hurt.
Yeah. Oh no. No.
Sorry.
Well, we don't need that. We don't need that because then they'll somehow get like Stroud or something, and we don't need that.
Oh yes, we don't need that. That's right. That's right.
Oh yeah. Well, you wouldn't want that in Matt LaFleur. That would be that would be fun for everybody. For me, yes, it'd be totally fun for me, but I don't know how the rest of the world would feel about that. I don't know what his name is. I can't think of it. It's just two of them. Yes, they only have a cut, but they did the same thing last year too, if I remember right. They cut everybody but Rodgers and Love, and then ended up.
Well, literally at this point, I mean, Love is every camp is playing for. He's competing for the backup spot. I mean,
pretty much. Yeah.
I know last season was a little wonky with Rodgers, doing his thing last offseason, but you knew once Rodgers came back, it wasn't like he wasn't going to be the starter. So, Love's kind of competing for that backup role each year. If he can't win that out, then there's a real big problem. To be honest,
I agree. And apparently, Aaron and Jordan really actually they work well together, and Jordan is learning from Aaron, and that's all we can ask for at this point until whatever happens down the road.
You almost, I would say that's probably the case because Jordan knows his place, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think really Aaron knew his place too for a long time until they kind of, and you never know what goes on right behind the closed doors within the management of a team. So I would surmise that the Packers probably knew a lot of what was going on with Brett Favre and maybe how not well he was, and that's why they made the move when they did. So I would assume as if at some point if they feel like Aaron is going in that direction, that they would pull the trigger. Would be my guess, but
it's going to be interesting out season. If regardless of what happens in the season, if they go ahead in the draft, get a quarterback, that's just going to be an interesting kind of move. And yeah, so obviously we haven't talked about the Lions yet, and talking about getting a quarterback and all that, and just a few roster moves here. You got
to save the best for last, so that's
save
right.
the best for last. Well, and they may have. I would say obviously the Vikings have the best wide receiver core, and the Lions probably have the second best in the league or in the division.
They have a chance. And like I say, we'll see when Jameson comes back, but I don't know. We'll see, man. It's like one of those things where the Lions are. We'll wait and see. Early in the preseason, I'm very worried about the defense. They really have their ups and downs, and like I say, this team's they're gonna grind it out, and they proved that last year. The defense got pretty good in the middle of the season, and I think they got a little worn down towards the end of the season. But this year, I think they have a chance. They got some good rookies. I would say they got Malcolm Rodriguez, who's basically been just showing out as a 6th-round draft pick. But I'd already known about that kid. I mean, I think when we did our draft special, I told you guys like after the draft that I was like, I think this is one of their best picks. He's just one of those guys that slid because of size, but he's going to be a very good linebacker. He's just one of those guys. He was a leader at Oklahoma State. He played in some big games there, conference championships, some bowl games that OSU had a chance to actually, have a chance at the national championship for a few years there. So he was playing in some big games, some big moment games, but he is the leader of that defense. And you just see this kid. I think he's going to be special in the NFL, even though he's going to be one of those picks that just, nobody knows about at first. And then I think he comes something special, just the type of kid he is. But yeah, the Nate Sudfeld thing today, they dropped both backup quarterbacks, which last week on Twitter, you asked a question about that. And I told you the Lions have the worst backup quarterbacks. And some people are like, no, some of this team. I'm like, no, literally. They dropped guys. Like and I think this is a rookie kind of, I wouldn't call it a rookie mistake, but I would say this is a mistake by the franchise that's young. There's a lot of young leadership. This is a bad mistake. If you knew about this week, you got to make this move weeks ago, right? A backup quarterback is very important. So Nate Sudfeld, man, here's some stats from Nate Sudfeld. Okay, this preseason, he was 26 of 38 for 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 INT. Previously, he was drafted in 2017. His entire regular season stats, he's thrown 1 less completion than he did all of this preseason. So he's 37 for 25, 188, a TD, and an interception. So it's like a lateral move. Mm-hmm. They went from Boyle to this guy. So I was like kind of confused because it's not like he's got some astonishing backup numbers. So I was a little shocked. I think, now you're going with this guy as your backup. I know it sounds funny, but in the NFL, this is going to be an important season. We talked about this, and Jamie was talking about this. This division is a little tighter than it ever has been. There's some open doors that are there, and it's going to take these 1 and 2 wins during the season. And sometimes a backup quarterback is that person that gets that 1 or 2 wins. And I just don't think that's Nate Sudfeld. If it comes down to the Lions losing Goff for a game, 2 games, 3 games, this is it hasn't been that way for the Lions in a long time. But this could be a season that 1, 2, or 3 losses because of a backup quarterback cost you something bigger than it ever has for a while.
It's always interesting with those backup quarterbacks. I always, some of them are like curious moves and things like that. And I always wonder the behind the scenes stuff, like what, does that quarterback have a connection to the system or a coach on the roster?
Well, that's what I tried to dig into. I really tried to dig into this move. I really scoured for this through different sources to see if I could find this connection. There's nothing mentions a quarterback coach, a linebackers coach, somebody that was with him in Philly or San Fran that's like now, like they're like, this is the guy. If this system we're running as an offense, this is the guy that could be our backup. I couldn't find any of that. I can't find any source that says that.
Probably the closest thing is I believe he went to Indiana, and that Midwest guy. But that's always interesting. I mean,
it's one of those shockers, like I don't know.
Yeah. And you look at it, and I didn't even realize I was looking through the cuts, and familiar name came up, Devin Funchess. Obviously, Jamie, you may
I know him. Yes, name. I remember that name.
You realized that he was trying to be the next Tim Tebow.
Oh, whoa. Really?
Well, a tight end.
Moving to tight end.
Oh, okay. He's a wide receiver.
But he was listed as a tight end. So, and I think he was, trying. There was another. I thought there was a former.
Isn't big enough to be a tight end.
That's why I was surprised too. And there was a former.
The problem is he wasn't good enough to be a receiver.
That might have been. Yeah,
he's too slow.
His route running was. But now you can't even be a tight end if you can't block as a tight end, right? So you need run blockers as a tight end.
You better be an awesome receiver if you can't block. Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter if you go from receiver to tight end. If you're not a good receiver, you can't be a good receiving tight end, if in my opinion. So
and he took off 2020, didn't he?
Interesting.
Because
I thought he was out of the league, honestly.
Well, because I thought that was the he took off for the COVID year. I thought.
Probably.
Because he was with the Packers, I thought that year.
He was, yeah, he did.
Yeah, that's right, he did. Yeah.
I think they released him, didn't he? Or no, he decided to not play that season. That's what he was. He took the out that season, right? The COVID not playing out. Yeah.
Yes, but he did come back last year.
But he got cut, right? Didn't he get cut?
Yes, he got cut. Yes.
Yeah.
He did come back and he got cut.
I thought he went somewhere.
He couldn't catch. He couldn't catch. He can't catch.
He went somewhere where he decided to make the change to tight end.
He's not good. I thought it was Carolina.
Yeah.
No, that's where he was drafted at, right?
That's where he was drafted as receiver.
Yeah.
Cam Newton were going to be
I don't know.
Together.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they said about Kelvin Benjamin too.
That's what it was. Kelvin Benjamin. Yes.
I knew that's who you were trying to get to.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, they had Benjamin and
it's all right because
Cam Newton, and it was going to be this whole explosion.
That's okay. Kelvin Benjamin still won us a national championship, so that's all I care about from Florida State.
So, when Kirk Cousins wins twice versus the Packers, does he say that he owns Green Bay?
You like that? We own you. That's right.
I mean, Aaron has owned the Bears since he's been a Packer, so I think it's a little different.
Although the joke is, for that is, Aaron Rodgers found out what the Bears ownership has found, that owning the Bears doesn't get you much in the postseason. So.
Wait, what? What did you just say?
Owning the Bears doesn't get you much in the postseason.
Oh, snap.
Not of lately.
Not lately, no. But eventually with Justin Fields, it's going to be an interesting season. I definitely appreciate you coming on, Jamie, Dave, and obviously Grubb. And when we look at this, division, next week we'll be previewing and what we think records are going to be. We'll go ahead and do that. We'll do some overreactions.
I'm here for that. Let's go.
All that fun stuff. That was fun last week. I enjoyed it. So, as we kind of get into it, it'll be interesting to see, how we do on predictions and just, just excited for the NFL this year. And where can everyone find you again? Once again, Jamie?
My handle is at JLPritchard11 on Twitter. That's where I do all my football interacting. So I'm not on Facebook.
That's all right. And Dave, where can everyone find you again?
At Viking Dave 18 and the fantasy football show that I do once upon a Sunday.
Awesome. And Grubb?
Obviously, you can find me here weekly. You can find me at Gridiron Grubb on Twitter. Spotify, YouTube, all that type of stuff. You can find me on there with my podcast, Gridiron Grubb. That's where we're at.
Absolutely. And I'm Andy, NFL updated. Oh, the Lions are going to win this year?
Go Lions.
Go Lions. and obviously you can find me on NFL Updated on Twitter and Instagram, eventually TikTok. I'm gonna get there. And actually, I need to drop my latest episode. I think Jamie, you might appreciate it. Was on the Cowboys with the Cowboys podcaster.
Yeah, no, thanks. I'm good. Pass.
I figured you would be. So, well, thanks again, everyone, for joining us. Once again, this has been a Freezin for NFC North podcast, and we will catch you again next week. Thanks again.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Good night, guys.
You too.
Jamie.
Yeah, thanks. Bye-bye.